Some call it the Pearl of Siberia. Others refer to it as the region's blue eye. A World Heritage Site surrounded by lush forested mountainside, a haven for fishermen and wildlife alike. And now scientists are working hard to unravel its many mysteries, because for all its fame and beauty, there remains a lot we don't know about Baikal.
Lake Baikal is a very special environment. It is, of course, as you know, the largest lake in the world by volume. It holds 20% of the world's fresh waters. There's a percent of the world's fresh waters. There's a gradient of environments ranging from very pristine environments down to ones that are potentially impacted by industry in the south part of the lake. A habitat is extremely important. There are so many species that are found here that are not found anywhere else in the world.
Baikal is one of the most ancient lakes on the planet, estimated at between 25 and 30 million years old. And it's home to 1,700 species of plants and animals, 2/3 of which are found nowhere else on Earth. 636 kilometers long, 81 kilometers wide, it contains more than 23.5 cubic kilometers of water, more than all the Great Lakes of North America combined. It's the biggest reserve of fresh water on Earth, reason enough for exploration.
The importance of this mission is that it gives scientists the opportunity to actually study those environments so that we can make some predictions about both natural impacts to the environment and human impacts to the environment without being able to go down and study and see what's happening, actually in the environment. It's impossible for us to predict and make some recommendations about how you can mitigate any damages to the lake.
So we grabbed a ride on a passing speedboat and decided to join up with the Maze, the group performing the largest ever study of Baikal, a painstaking 2-year investigation mission using the Rolls-Royce of deepwater submersibles, the Mir itself. Owned by the Russian Academy of Sciences, it's a world leader in deep-sea science. The project began earlier this year when the 2 subs were brought to Baikal from Kaliningrad to conduct 160 separate dives to the bottom of the lake, collecting samples and conducting experiments across a huge range of disciplines from geology to biology. Transporting them was no easy feat as they weigh nearly 21 tons each. And the man at the helm, the Mir team's leader since the subs were first unveiled more than 20 years ago. Dr. Anatoly Sergeyevich, a man awarded the Hero of Russia title for his achievements in deep-sea exploration. Although film fans will probably be more familiar with his work as the pilot who took James Cameron's team to the bottom of the Atlantic to film for the famous blockbuster Titanic. So why did Hollywood come to him and the Mir team for help?
Everybody said that this is the best vehicles around the world. Why? This is light vehicles, this is only 18.5 ton. And this is light for such a great depth, 6,000. But this sphere can be used for about 8,000 meters, if necessary. We can cover with this vehicle about 98% of the area. This vehicle about 98% of the area of the ocean.
There are several unique features in the Mir's design. The hull itself is made from a special nickel-heavy steel alloy, immune to corrosion, unlike the titanium shell of its competitors. It's cast in a single piece, so there's no need for welding. Specially designed batteries are the secret to the Mir's exceptionally long dive time, up to 24 hours, as opposed to the 4 or 5 the others can manage. Also, the Mirs use seawater as ballast to help them sink and rise. Environmentally friendly and highly controllable, this too was a world first. Their reliability and endurance has appealed to many in the TV and movie industries. And although this is essentially a sideline for the Mir crew, it has helped to evolve the tools we have for exploring the ocean. After Titanic, the team found new ways to bring the world's eyes to the ocean floor.
Next film, Ghost of Abyss. For this film we use special ROVs, remotely operated vehicles, rather small, on fiber optic cable. And that vehicle could go from the Mir for 2 miles. They have a spool on the ROV with 2 miles of fiber optic. And these ROVs came inside of the Titanic, and practically we just filmed many things inside of the Titanic. Very unique images.
But today the Mir team are back on the day job, preparing to take scientists to explore the bottom of Lake Baikal to perform the experiments that will tell us more about the flora and fauna, the formation of this natural phenomenon, and the effects man is having on it. The scientists are invited from all over the world, each with their own specific reason for coming here, arriving in awe and no little trepidation, and one of them agreed to take us down on his personal voyage of discovery. Well, this is a special moment for Technology Update. Now we're meeting the man who's going to show us the bottom of Lake Baikal. Mark, very pleased. Personal voyage of discovery. Well, this is a special moment for Technology Update. Now we're meeting the man who's going to show us the bottom of Lake Baikal. Mark, very pleased to meet you. How do you feel?
Excited, pretty excited, a little bit nervous.
And is it starting to seem real now that you're going all the way to the bottom?
They're there, aren't they? I have to get in soon and then 1,400 meters down.
You haven't seen Das Boot, have you?
No.
That's good. See you soon. Look after yourself.
Cheers.
Mark's lack of knowledge on the subject of gloomy German films about sinking submarines is no bad thing, considering he's about to spend 6.5 hours a mile beneath the surface. But as the senior scientist at Belgium's Ghent University, his knowledge of the complex tectonic ridge that Baikal lies on will be greatly enhanced if this trip is successful. Once the team are aboard, the ship's crew slip into the roles they have performed hundreds of times before, working as a single unit, observing the procedures and protocols that ensure each launch is a finely choreographed performance.
Okay, we are ready. Sorry for the delay. We are ready. Camera is filming now. Over.
And after all the hustle and bustle of the launch, once the sub sinks below the... And after all the hustle and bustle of the launch, once the sub sinks below the surface, the ship descends into stillness. Well, I've been left here all alone. It's going to be some time before the crews emerge from the deep, so there's nothing much we can do but wait and see. A large part of the reason for this project being undertaken is for the first time to see what kind of condition this vast world resource is in. Looking not just at the history of how it was formed and the animals and plants that live here now, but also what the future holds. So while Mark continues his journey to the bottom of the lake, we continue our trip around it. Behind me, you can see some of the beautiful unspoiled mountainside that surrounds Baikal, but right in the middle of it, you can see a paper plant that environmentalists fear is doing untold damage to the lake's ecology. Now, we've been here around a week and the owners are so far refusing to comment on measures they say they're taking to cut down on pollution. And the owners are so far refusing to comment on measures they say they're taking to cut down on pollution, but many still fear the ecology is being irreparably damaged. The mill was built in 1966 and produces bleached cellulose for the clothing industry. It's a major local employer, but it's the impact on a world scale that is causing concern. Not only does it billow tons of toxic smoke into the atmosphere, it also pumps liquid waste directly into the lake itself. One of the scientists investigating the impact of this pollution has strong views that no amount of modification will make the mill a suitable neighbour for Baikal. He says it's got to go.
Lake Baikal is the large reservoir of pure fresh water. This is the strategic supply of Russia. Even if we bottle some 10 centimeters of the water surface, we can satisfy the need in water for our entire planet, and even more so for the most densely populated Asian continent. Thus, we have to treat it with care. We have to preserve it, to research it, and to discuss the possibilities of developing an eco-safe economy. In presence, in any form, even in a completely closed cycle, doesn't allow us to develop tourism. And second, no country will ever buy water from Baikal as long as this factory stands here. Thus, we don't want to talk about conversion or purification facilities, but we want to see a complete elimination of the Baikal plant. One can smell those smells at any distance. Our image associated with Baikal is destructive. This is my opinion about this plan.
Now, the water here around the paper plant does appear visibly darker than at other points in the lake, but that doesn't really tell us too much. So scientists are taking detailed probes to find out exactly how the water quality is being affected. Monitoring the water in Baikal has been going on for decades, and according to find out exactly how the water quality is being affected. Monitoring the water in Baikal has been going on for decades, and according to the latest government figures for April this year, pollution is getting steadily worse around the mill. Non-sulfate sulfur emissions are more than 7 times the maximum permitted level. Phenols are 5 times the limit, and twice as much mercury is being produced as is considered safe. Bacterial plankton pollution extends for 86 kilometers, sulfate sulfur pollution is raised at nearly 70, and contamination of the lake bed is significant for 20 kilometers. Around the outflow itself, there's a significant drop in marine life. September this year and protesters take to the streets. In April, the government announced that unless the plant could create a closed system to prevent it pumping waste, it would be shut down. But today, production continues and protesters fear the real damage being done is unknown.
One of the most disturbing things about this is actually that the present-day monitoring only goes down to a depth of something like 200 meters. Below that, they haven't got the equipment to monitor. And yet the pollution coming from the mill has a tendency to go down the steep slopes of Baikal and accumulate in the lower areas. So in fact, today, we don't know the extent of the damage that has been caused.
And this is where the MARE project could come into its own, taking the most advanced tools for measuring environmental impact into those deep areas, producing evidence of the true scale of pollution levels.
The future must be a future where paper is made not from timber, but from other materials. This is something that is not of the 21st century. We have got to preserve but from other materials. This is something that is not of the 21st century. We have got to preserve wildlife, wild nature, because this is now becoming a rarity on the planet.
It may seem strange to learn that in this electronic age we're using and producing more paper than ever before. But what is the viable alternative? The modern world is a paper-thirsty place. The global average for paper consumption is 50 kilograms per person per year. The TV news industry was once one of the biggest culprits, but times are changing. Developments in computer software and a lessening reliance on hard copy has drastically cut consumption. Here at Russia Today, the Dalet computer system means the news is written, messages passed, and information gathered on a computer screen instead of a mountainous paper trail. Anchorman Bill Dodd has worked in newsrooms around the world for decades and has witnessed a massive cultural change.
I've got about 8 minutes before I go on air, and for the last hour and a half or so I've been working with the news team putting the programme together. We've got about 20 minutes of programming to broadcast. Now, I'm the only person who needs the script on paper. Everybody else has done it on the computer. So what I've done is just printed out the script, and I can take this with me to the studio.
So as Bill prepares to take his place in the hot seat, up in the gallery with the directors and the engineers who run the show, there's not a single sheet of paper to be seen. And so in the modern newsroom, the programme goes to air using only a fraction of the paper that would have been used even a few years ago.
Camera 1, here.
Can you imagine there are something like 30 people involved in just 20 minutes of news output every hour? And if all of those people had a piece of paper or a whole wad of paper to write their notes on and to redraft scripts again and again, you can imagine the amount of paper that is used. Now, of course, that was what it was like a few years ago. Everybody had to, whether it's the director, the journalists, whoever's involved, everybody had to have paper to write their scripts on. Now, that has definitely changed. Everybody's now got a shared computer system. You can cut and paste, you can change scripts in the newsroom. Everybody can look at what has been changed. Nobody needs a copy, a fresh copy on paper. And then, of course, it is then transferred to my computer. I have the running order on my computer here and also on the auto cue. So it's changed immeasurably. Can you imagine the amount of paper that was used all those years ago?
They'll have to find common ground.
And while I would love to be able to tell you it's all changed because we're big-hearted people who couldn't sleep at night if our carbon footprint was too big, the real truth is that the new system just works faster and better.
We can get news within an instant to the world. It's that quick. Can you imagine how slow it would be, the backlog with all the paper having to be written, people running in, giving me scripts? They don't have to do that now. It's all right here.
Better.
We can get news within an instant to the world. It's that quick. Can you imagine how slow it would be, the backlog with all the paper having to be written, people running in, giving me scripts? They don't have to do that now. It's all right here.
Microsoft Russia are also taking the idea of an essentially paperless planet very seriously. This whole office has just one printer, often sitting idle. Digital paper, the ability to share information and documents electronically, is now real. In fact, the technology to take the next step forward is already here. It's just a matter of bringing it in.
When we think about the future, we will definitely see continued innovation in digital paper, which we've seen the beginnings of already. But I think what's important to note is that today we already have all the technology to have digital processes that replace all the paper-based processes that we have. So a lot of the future will be adopting the technologies that we have today, but then extending that into being able to access, share, collaborate, extending that into being able to access, share, collaborate, and work on information from any location, on any device.
Will we ever get to a paperless world? I don't think so. For me, I definitely need some paper to hold on to write my notes on. But I think in other aspects, in other offices where we're not talking about news offices, I think we could become a completely paperless environment.
Back with the Mir project, the lake is still, the ship's silent, and the casual eye would never guess that far below the surface there's serious work going on. It's been around 4 hours since we said goodbye to Mark on his journey to the deep. Let's see how he's getting on. Mark, this is Ryan.
Okay, this is Mark. I will just describe what we are doing here now. We are on 1,310 meters below the surface of Lake Baikal. We're standing still on the lake floor. We have observed a slight anomaly in the morphology, and we want to study this in more detail. We think we are close to a fault and close to the mud volcano. The seafloor looks rough. There's a lot of life around here. We made a the seafloor looks rough. There's a lot of life around here. We made a temperature measurement, and for the rest, we are very excited and everything is going fine. Over.
But Mark, how are you feeling? Copy.
The feeling is excitement, trying to fit in a small place with 3 people, trying to have a view outside the window, looking forward, looking backward to the camera, to the displays, to all the measurements. So it's a remarkable feeling being here down at the bottom.
Okay, Mark, we'll check in with you a little bit later. Enjoy the rest of the dive. Look after yourself. Copy.
Thank you very much. I will tell you all about it later on. Bye-bye.
The Mirs may be more than 20 years old, but they're still regarded as among the best in the world. and international experts say they don't see that position changing anytime soon. Of course, they're not the only deep-water subs in the world. The granddaddy of them all is Alvin, the American manned submersible built in 1964. It enabled us to explore and research deep water previously inaccessible, conducting biological, chemical and geological studies, able to roam nearly 2/3 of the ocean and open up new vistas for science. It prompted a miniature explosion of oceanic research as other countries sought access to the hidden parts of the world. 20 years later, the French launched the Nautil, a significant step forward. Dives still had to remain relatively short, around the 5-hour mark, but could now be made to 98% of the ocean floor. 2 years later, in Japan, the Shinkai set a new record for depth, able to map all but 1% of the ocean floor. 2 years later, in Japan, the Shinkai set a new record for depth, able to map all but 1% of the seabed, while the Russian Mir trebled the amount of time scientists could spend underwater and could carry significantly more than the Nautil or the Shinkai.
Mir is just a premier vehicle. There's no question about it. She's going to be around for a long time. The system is going to be around, the entire system, the crew and the support ships. Just going to be doing good work for a long, long time to come. You've got a vehicle that's operational every day, all day long, that you're not telling the scientists that, oh, I can't dive today because the vehicle is broken. It's rough weather, I can't do this or I can't do that. So that's kind of the whole system that comes together. And we need vehicles like this, and I don't think they're gonna go away.
There's a tendency now to want to do everything remotely, to send out autonomous underwater vehicles and remotely operated vehicles and do oceanography at your desk. And those tools are very good to get broad surveys, but when you want to study a very specific habitat or a specific environment or a species, the manned submersibles are without, just without equal. And the mirrors are especially important because they can go so deep and reach so many other areas that other research submersibles cannot. So deep and reach so many other areas that other research submersibles cannot.
What makes the Mirs so special is their durability and the skills of the team that put them to work. After 2 decades of heavy use, they just keep going. Day in, day out, surface to seabed, enduring extremes of pressure and workload without any complaint, and providing a unique insight for scientists. Well, the sun's now low in the sky. Mir 1 has been under for about 6.5 hours. They radioed in a few minutes ago to tell us they were coming up, and we've come out here to give them a ride home. Shortly we'll be finding out just how they've got on and how they felt about their trip to the bottom of the lake. For scientists like Mark, a trip on the Mir is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. The chance to see the environments they've spent a lifetime studying for themselves. But for the Mir crew, it's just a lifetime studying for themselves. But for the Mir crew, it's just another day at the office. The subs make hundreds of dives every year. Tireless workhorses that are constantly bringing new insights into the aquatic world. It gives scientists the chance to see for themselves whether the theories and projections they've spent years working on actually exist in reality, providing not only answers to their questions, but new questions that they'll have to answer in the future, pushing back the boundaries of what we know not only about Lake Baikal, but the oceans that cover 2/3 of our planet. After all, the proof of the pudding